Channel 250. Please remember to download both the BarnBurner and Zingo TV apps in their respective app store and on iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. Both apps are completely free, so why wouldn't you download them? Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire and Fire TV sticks, Roku and Roku sticks, also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. All right, guys, welcome to Beyond the Score today. I am so excited for you guys to join me. I have an incredible guest today in Eric Davis. He used to play with the 49ers, was drafted back in 1990. And he will be joining me a little bit shortly. I just thought I'd start the show first and give you guys a little bit of breaking news. So out of the NFL, I'm not sure if you guys have seen it yet, but if you follow me on Twitter, you probably know what I'm going to be talking about. And yeah, so just a big, huge congratulations to running back Raheem Mostert for coming to terms with the 49ers and making sure that he's not going to be traded away. So if you guys haven't heard yet, Raheem Mostert has come to a deal with the 49ers. I'll read you some of the details, but basically his agent had tweeted out earlier in July that Raheem Mostert was wanting a trade. The trade obviously never went through because now today it was announced that they did come to an agreement and Mostert will be joining the team again if the NFL does in fact take place this fall. So we'll see what happens with that. So yeah, his agent finalized this or announced this over his Twitter. If you guys don't remember, Mostert led the 49ers in rushing yards all of last season. It was earlier this month that he did request the trade, but again, like the Niners, I guess, had pushed to keep him because he made such a difference on the team. And of course, like I had been saying all along, I never wanted him to leave. He's somebody that if you ask me, in my opinion, I think that Mostert is one of the go-to guys on the team. I mean, aside from George Kittle, who we're still waiting on that contract for, and hopefully it'll happen by tomorrow, which is my birthday. Had to plug that a little bit. But yeah, so, I mean, Mostert is up there as well. When it comes to our offense, he, in the NFC Championship game against the Packers, the Cheesies, he scored 4 touchdowns. He ran for 220 yards, which I believe was was like the most historic in franchise history for our postseason. So yeah, Mostert has kind of been the key piece in everything that the 49ers have done. So I'm personally very excited to see that he's coming back and he'll be doing his little surfing touchdown celebrations in the end zone and we can all celebrate that. And I mean, like if you look at Mostert, what was it? Like 6 teams had cut him, including teams like the Browns and the Dolphins, who I'm sure they're looking back and are kicking themselves right now because imagine if they had that, like 4 touchdowns in one game against the Packers that boosted them literally to the Super Bowl. Like you can't, I don't know. I mean, I would be really upset with myself if I was one of the ones that made a decision to cut that guy because he just needed to grow and adapt and like get out of the backfield and like, really put on his cleats and do his thing for his team. And I think that he was able to do that with the San Francisco 49ers and they gave him an opportunity that maybe he didn't have with 6 other teams. And what I love about Mostert is he has a list of all those teams that cut him and he looks at it before every single game to motivate himself to do better and to do amazing and to basically prove everybody wrong. And that's something that I've been trying to do, the past 10 years of my life since trying to get into this industry. And I do want to pick Eric Davis's brain a little bit once he gets on this call and just, just with the transition from going from the NFL and then into broadcasting and just, get his advice for young broadcasters like myself. So that'll be interesting to see. But Mostert definitely is somebody that I look up to in the team right now. And he was probably one of the ones that I was the most worried about losing. And when I originally saw his agent tweet out that they were like possibly going to trade him, I got very upset. But I did think to myself, I'm like, there's no way the 49ers are going to let him go. So a part of me, as soon as I heard the news, actually my one of our hosts at BarnBurner, Eric Cohen, who just had his NFL Blitz show, he's the one that sparked me to go look it up because he said, breaking news that Raheem just made a deal with the 49ers. So then I went and looked on Twitter and this is what was being said. So Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, both of those guys are basically the go-to NFL guys. And I'm sure we all go to somebody different to get our NFL news from, but these are the 2 guys that I think of. And I even commented on Ian's Facebook post because he put up something about him and Adam Schefter. And I was like, oh, like, of course, if I'm going to pick one, it's going to be Rappo, because I've been following Ian Rappaport ever since I've been an NFL fan and a 49ers fan. And I just love his shtick, and he's just really funny. So Adam Schefter is obviously really great too. So either of them, if you get your news from them, that's great. But basically the two of them reported that he restructured his contract and that there will be no trade nor holdout. That was from Adam Schefter. So he also said that Raheem Mostert is due 2.575 million in base salary with a $300,000 bonus, and he can also earn up to an additional 2.75 million in bonuses and incentives. So that's as from a source that Adam Schefter reported. So I'm really excited for this. I think I mean, looking at our offense, he, like I said, he's one of the key players, and to have them coming back for, you know, next season, it's great, because I would have been very sad. I know we do have a lot of running backs that would probably, you know, be the next man up and get in there and maybe pull the weight, but to have 4 touchdowns in a game against the Packers, against Aaron Rodgers and his squad, and like, I mean, it's incredible. And 220 yards, like, the guy is a wrecking ball, and I just would have been very upset if he didn't come back to the team. So I'm sure I'd love to hear you guys' opinion on it as well. I know I tweeted out almost instantly when I heard Eric talk about Mostert's deal, and I went and I was like, oh my God, you know, he wanted to stay because of the surf. And I don't live in California yet, specifically San Fran, and I got into it with a couple people on Twitter, a lot of people actually, and so I call it San Fran. It's just what I call it. I've always called it San Fran. I'd love to actually ask Eric when he gets on this, so I'm going to ask him too. But just like, oh, you know, if I were to move to San Fran, where should I move, or should I make the move, or whatever? And a lot of people were like, oh, first off, you can't call it San Fran, or you can't move here in general, like that's your first mistake. And okay, to be fair, I'm originally from Vancouver, Canada. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't realize that we call it Van or Van City. Like, I mean, it's an easier nickname, but okay. So if I'm referring to San Francisco, I will definitely just call it the Bay from now on. Somebody told me Frisco, and then I used Frisco and I got in trouble for that too. So I feel like I can never make the squad or the fam happy on Twitter. It's always something with everyone. But yeah, so basically I had tweeted, oh, he wants to stay for the surf, and people are saying that there aren't many places to go surfing in San Francisco. Although when I used to surf, because, you know, back in the day, I used to surf as well. When I lived in Australia, I surfed for a while. And I had looked up a lot of places in San Fran and around the Bay Area, because I wanted to travel there and do some surfing. And I had surfed along in Newport, Oregon, and all these places along the coast. And I thought, oh, like San Fran would be great to continue down and get down there. I still keep calling it San Fran. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, so it would be awesome to go and do some surfing at like Half Moon Bay. These are places I kind of looked into, and it'd be interesting to see if Mostert has done any surfing around the Bay Area, because I'd love to prove everybody wrong. I would love to get on a call with Mostert too, because I just feel like his motivation and just the way he speaks about where he is today and how he got there, and, you know, keeping the haters in the back of his mind to keep him going and fueling that fire inside. I think that's so important. And I think that does go beyond the score, because it's a personality trait within you. And it'd be interesting to see, you know, what he's been through aside from the NFL growing up, and just like the mentality that he has to continue and to go for things in a way that I think that you don't really get to that point unless there have been people trying to hold you down. And so he's definitely an inspiration for me, because I just feel like, especially recently, there are some people that look at what you do, and maybe they, you know, try and tell you that you're not good enough to do something, or you're never going to make it in a world, you know, that is meant for men, or whatever else it may be. So I just feel like he would be somebody that me and him would get to talking, and we'd both just motivate the heck out of each other. And I would love to interview him. So I know I've been going hard at trying to get George Kittle for tomorrow for my birthday, but Raheem, if you see this, or even his agent, I think his name's Brett, hit me in the DMs. I would love to interview for Beyond the Score, or, you know, even when NFL season kicks off, I'd love to have you on my wildcard show, because I just think that your story, Raheem's story, is incredible. And if we can share a little bit more of what's going on inside there, and a little bit more of the heart and the soul of a player, I think that it really helps connect people, like, you know, other women, other whoever it may be, that they don't follow sports per se. A lot of my girlfriends, they don't follow sports the way that I do. And I would love to be able to tell these stories, because not only does it resonate with the players themselves, and obviously the people like us who are watching, it also resonates with people that are going through their own struggles in life. And that's really what this show is about. So yeah, I'm very excited to have him back on the team, back on the squad. I was going to read you guys his agent's text, but I can't find it. So don't worry about that. And Eric Davis should be on here pretty shortly. So yeah, so anyways, other than that, what else is big? Obviously, you guys saw that the MLB had more COVID testing done and more cases come through. So looking at just baseball and how they haven't had a bubble, it'll be interesting to see how they are going to play and continue to play, especially when a team, a lot of that team isn't able to play because a lot of the players have tested positive for COVID. It does kind of spark a little bit of conversation when looking at the NFL and how they're going to do things, and if they're going to do anything differently, because I do think that they're going to need to do something a little differently than the MLB, because it's just a mess right now. I mean, it's the Miami team that is getting, looked at with all the cases and everything. And it's not really a surprise. And I don't like that I'm saying that, but just like looking on Twitter and seeing everybody's reaction, I mean, people aren't really surprised. And I just think that in order to get going properly, especially with, a tournament that only has 60 games, let's say, you do need to do it a little bit more carefully. And I think that the MLB is a really great example that maybe there were, there's parts that they were missing or they didn't totally think through. So I was thinking about this in regards to the NFL and what will happen with the NFL, if they hopefully do start on time. But if they don't start on time, because preseason games are all scratched now, if they don't start on time, will they think about doing a similar situation like an NBA bubble or an NHL bubble? Because I do think that if you limit the travel and everything, that will definitely keep the cases at a minimum for sure. But I was thinking, how would you do that? You'd have to restructure the entire schedule for the NFL and just kind of look at it and be like, okay, these are the teams that are playing each other back to back, whatever. And we could lump them in for, let's say, a month or two at this certain bubble. And then when they travel, they're literally going just from that bubble to the next one in a different city. And then maybe have different hub cities that are each in, the respective areas that would go alongside with the division. So that's something that I was kind of thinking of, like you keep mainly the Seahawks, San Fran, Rams, and Cardinals in the same kind of area, especially if they were to play all those games maybe earlier on in the season, especially when this is the thing. I don't think the entire season needs to be changed around, but if you can at least minimize the impact of COVID in the beginning, and maybe do a restructure of those games and limiting the travel for those games in the beginning, I do think that could really help. Looking at the bubble, again, for the NBA, it's something that I've looked at every single day, and I look at what they're doing and how much fun they're having. And I just think, okay, if the NFL players are, cleared to play and they're okay with playing away from their families and being in a little bubble and like really doing it safely, why not? Right. So I am interested to see what will happen with the NFL in regards to what they will do with their season, just based on, what the MLB is going through right now. And I mean, it would be such a shame if the MLB had to cancel the rest of their tournament that they've got going on, or their season that they have, and they wouldn't even have a champion this season because of all the cases that are coming up, and especially with playing at their own home fields and whatnot. And I mean, not the Blue Jays, but I don't know. I think that there could have been a better way for them to do it. And looking at the NFL, it scares me a little bit. And I've seen this on Twitter and whatnot too. What are they going to do with that many players? There's so many more players that play in the NFL, and you can't have that many people around each other, especially during a world pandemic. So, I mean, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that things start to ease up a little bit and there aren't any spikes or anything, but I mean, you never know, right? So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Okay. So I don't know where Eric is at the moment right now, but, yeah, so again, it'll be interesting to see. I do want to show you guys a quick little clip. I was going to show you this when Eric was in here, but I'm going to show you guys just now because he should be here any minute. I'm just going to double check that I sent him the right link, which I did. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to share my screen with you guys for a quick moment. and play you something to get you guys hyped up, because this is something that I watched this morning just to get myself hyped up for the show. And again, like when Eric Davis was with the team, he got drafted in 1990 to go play with the San Francisco 49ers. And of course, in the 1994 season, he had a pivotal, like he played a pivotal role in the NFC Championship game against the Dallas Cowboys. And so that game, I mean, if you guys haven't seen it, you should go and watch. I want to watch the entire game because I didn't watch the whole game. I'm not going to lie. 1994 was only a little bean. So I didn't really even understand what football was to begin with. But just to get you guys a little hype for this interview the same way that I was hyped, I'm going to play you guys this. So let me share my screen real quick.
Park in San Francisco, and the sun has been out all day. Aikman back to throw it. Intercepted by Eric Davis. And Davis will score for the 49ers. Intended for Kevin Williams. 44-yard touchdown run.
Eric Davis is a guy who gets worked on a lot. You see him, he's just playing zone because they're doubling away.
Aikman back. Pass is caught and dropped and left on the ground.
Okay, we're going to stop the sharing right now because I have my guest.
Volume on. That'll help tremendously.
Hello, how's it going?
I'm well. How about yourself?
I'm good, Eric. Thank you so much for joining me today. So just to give you just a little background scoop, I am a host of Beyond the Score, which is the show that you're joining me on today. And basically this show is just to showcase athletes that have either played professionally or are playing professionally right now, talking a little bit about their sport, but then also going beyond their sport. So I do have quite a bit of questions to ask you today, but it's not just about when you played with the NFL. It's like kind of a little bit beyond as well. So again, if there's anything that you don't want to answer, you don't have to. I do have a lot of questions and we'll try and get through them as fast as we can.
Got it. I'm a big boy. I can handle it.
I thought so. Just wanted to let you know that just in case. All right. So let's begin. Let's go back to your childhood. So basically, you started playing football. I'd love to know what got you into the sport and who kind of inspired you when you were little.
I started playing football because it was something that my siblings couldn't do. Seriously, I grew up in one of those households where you were not going to be the bad kid. You were going to get good grades. You were going to be respectful. You were going to do what you were supposed to do. So, getting good grades or not getting in trouble didn't make you stand out. But I noticed early on when I played sports that my parents would sort of stand up a little bit higher, that chest would, shoulders were higher and chin held higher when someone would walk up to them and say, hey, you know what, Eric had a pretty good game. So I realized that was something that I could do that made them happy. And that really what started me to want to play football, because I wanted their approval. That's why I started playing the game.
And how did your siblings feel about that you could play and maybe they couldn't?
Oh, they didn't care. They didn't care. Even like to this day, everyone always had their own thing and they did what they did. So it was, like I said, they were probably doing their own thing, figuring out how to get that attention on their own. Because, I mean, it's an eclectic group, how we are. I mean, engineers and musicians and business people. Yeah, so it's definitely an eclectic group of siblings that I have. But yeah, I don't think they cared. To this day, I don't think they care.
That's good. Hopefully they're supportive of everything that you've been in the NFL career and everything, like siblings so much are. What would you say is your fondest memory that you had growing up with them?
Well, that's tough. I mean, that was it. Siblings. I have 2 brothers, 2 sisters, 1 younger sister. So I'm next to last. Tons of things that would mean nothing. Just hanging out on the front porch, having conversations with my youngest sister. That's some of the best memories I have. I mean, conversations about nothing, maybe the shape of a cloud. or the how green the grass looked that summer day. Just things like that. But just being around. I mean, we were close. My oldest brother, he's 9 years older than me. He took when mom and dad were working, he was sort of in charge. So, the days that he was easy on us, fun days, but it's a lot. It's a lot. If I had to give you one, I'll go with, like I said, the memories with my sister. She's 4 years younger. She and I spent more time together when we were kids than I did with my older siblings.
Mhm.
So I have a lot of fun memories of just hanging out with her. I mean, like my senior prom, I didn't go to the prom. I took her to a movie instead.
Yeah.
'Cause
Oh,
it was just more fun to hang out with her.
I love that. I have an older brother. He's like a year and a half older than me, and he was basically my protector through life. And same thing, like everything that I look back on in my life, I just think about my moments with him and bailing out on some of our classes when we were in high school and just going for a drive when I was having a bad day. So having a big brother means a lot, and I'm sure she really appreciates that you were there for her. So I do love that. Who would you say is your biggest inspiration, let's say both on and off the NFL or football field?
Biggest inspiration on and off the field. Wow. On the field, as a player on the field, again, that'll probably go back to just wanting to please my siblings and family. So it probably family was probably the biggest inspiration. I just wanted them to be proud of what I was doing. I always felt like I could accomplish something special. And, I realized looking back how special it is to have an opportunity to play in the league and to play at the level that I played with the people I played with. That's a unique opportunity. So that right there on the field, I think that's really motivated me because I was never really competing with the other guys. I was never trying to outdo another player. I was just trying to maximize me. So it was never being inspired by this guy to do what he did, and you always get that question, who was your favorite player growing up and all these type of things. That was never what drove me.
Mm-hmm.
There are players that, like Mike Haynes is the reason I wanted to be a corner. I loved Mike Haynes and the way he played, and I wanted to play corner, and nobody would let me play corner growing up. They always made me play
Really?
offense. Yeah, but I always played offense growing up, and I really wanted to be a corner, and I didn't get the opportunity until I got to college. And I went to the college that said they let me play corner. And off the field, it's my wife,
Aw.
Serena Davis. No, she has taught me how to grow up and be a grown man, and I've seen her. We've been together. I mean, we've been together over 30 years. And we were kids together, and our entire adult life, we've been together more years than we've been apart. Since we've been on planet Earth, and it's just like just watching her just be the human being that she is, and she makes people better. She's made me a better person, and that's really off the field. Even when I was playing, the way she took care of me, the way she fed me, the way she would deal with the things you have to deal with the ball player, the training and the injuries and nursing me back to health and all of those things, even up to this day, transitioning to the next life. Yeah. So that's the two. So I guess that falls back under family, huh?
Yeah, family's everything. That's awesome. What would you say? So you do mention your wife and how she inspires you and was there for you. What's the key to a healthy, good relationship, like a strong one like you guys have?
Well, I don't know what anyone else's is. It's just communication and talking to one another and learning to put up with the good and the bad and growing. Knowing that for me is knowing that you're not always right, being willing to learn, being willing to be honest with yourself and say that maybe what that person is saying is valid. Maybe they do see something in you that you don't see in yourself, and wanting to work on it and fix it and not always be right, because you can always be right. So you have to decide if you want to be right, if you want to be happy.
Yeah.
Because you can always be right and never get anything accomplished because that's your right. It's not necessarily the other person's right. So we are friends. I think that's a good thing. because you can love someone, you can love someone to death and not want to put up with their crap. But friends, we tend to give the second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever chance. So I think it's key to be friends. That's very, very important to like the person. I like her. I like her. I think she likes me. You know, yes, we definitely love one another, but I think she likes hanging out with me. We're best friends. We really, truly are. I know it sounds cliche, but we actually are best friends.
Oh, that's so sweet. What is like your guys' go-to date night?
Wow, we're bar people, so it'd be fun. So, you know, just a night at, you know, there are a few particular bars that we'll hang out in, restaurants, and, you know, and when I say bar, not club scene, but the restaurant, we like to be at the bar. There's just more life there at the bar. So we will do that, and you know, there's always room for a good steak and a nice, you know, a nice red wine, and so that's kind of it. Well, we can just kind of chill and talk and enjoy good food and each other's company, music, things like that.
That's perfect. All right, so let's kind of move forward. You went to play college at Jacksonville State. What was your favorite memory just from playing with that team?
Wow.
If you could pinpoint it down to maybe a couple.
No, I have great memories there because some of the funniest men I've ever known in my life I went to school with. So just times in the dorm. And this was back in the day when you had the athletic dorms too. So there was no one in the dorm but ball players.
Oh, wow, that's fun.
And we didn't have RAs, we didn't have anything. So we basically had this entire building and, you know, had our own cafeteria and all these things. So when the coaches were out recruiting, they just tell us not to burn the place down, and we'd have parties in the cafeteria on the weekends and things like that. So that was fun. Just that, and just the relationships that you have with guys, just the jokes and the sitting around and playing the video games and talking to one another, and just, I mean, it's just that when you spend so much time around those guys, it's hard to pinpoint it, but I had fun memories. Like I say, we would one of the best memories I had was summertime. CAF would close. This is way back. So the cafeteria wouldn't be open. So ball players, we all had to be there, but the cafeteria would close on Thursday afternoon. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, up until Sunday afternoon, you had to figure out where to eat. And we would literally go and hold up signs for like a car wash, like student car wash. We would go to the local McDonald's, hold signs. They'd allow us to use the water and everything. And we would wash cars and raise money and stuff like this. And then we had a couple of guys on the team that were in the Army Reserve, and there was an Army base nearby. So they would go on to the commissary and buy all sorts of things, mostly beer. So we raised all this money, buy a bunch of beer. That's all you need. We were football players.
Yeah.
We did a few loaves of bread, some sandwich meat, some peanut butter and jelly, and the rest of the money would be spent on beer. And that's what we would do on the weekend.
That's so much fun though. So you mentioned that you were given the chance to play corner when you went to college. Do you remember when that first game that you were able to play as a corner and how it felt?
It was the first game my freshman year.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So I got an opportunity to play. It was football. It was what I had always done. It was never really this weird feeling of awe or anything like that. I had always played football. I've been playing football since I was, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Football season, I played football. So it was just the next football season, and I was playing. And the coach told me going in, if you're good enough to play, I didn't want to be redshirted. I was a little bitty guy, but I thought I could play. And I didn't want to be redshirted, and I wanted to play defense. And my coach said, if you're good enough to play on defense, I'll let you play corner. If not, I'm going to move you to wide receiver. And he also said, if you're good enough to play as a freshman, I'll let you play. But he said, but both things have to happen. You have to be good enough to play corner, and you have to be good enough to start as a freshman, or I'm going to move you and redshirt you. And it worked out.
Sure.
Yeah. It worked out. So so like I said, it was what I had expected. It was what I had always done. So it was, get out and play. So they started me. So the first game of the season, coach called, he was like, get in. And I didn't start that game, but he was like, get in. But by week 3, I was starting and playing, and I played the rest of the time I was there.
Amazing. And what was your relationship like with your coach?
Oh, it was great. Bro, it was great. Love Coach Burgess. Love Coach Burgess to this day. If I could do it all over again, I'd go back. After knowing what I know now about all the big schools and the Penn States and the USCs and Notre Dames and University of Alabama, that's a different story. I'm an Alabama kid. I would have gone to Alabama but they didn't offer me a scholarship. Their mistake.
Yeah.
But, everything worked out for me perfectly.
Things happen for a reason, yeah.
But Coach Burgess was hard on us. He was hard. He was tough. He was not friendly whatsoever in any way. As we grew and learned to love him year after year, more and more and more, because what he was fair. He pushed us to be the best we could possibly be. He expected so much from us that he wouldn't allow us to not expect it from ourselves, be it on the field, be it in the classroom, be it as a human being. And all the guys that I played with, whether you liked Coach or not, became irrelevant because we all knew that Coach had our backs, which is the most important thing to a ball player. He had our backs. He would not allow anything or anyone to not to interfere with us accomplishing what he thought we were capable of accomplishing. And he would always get us to see that we were capable of doing much more than we had ever imagined. And that's what I loved about Coach.
Amazing. Was there anything that he said to you that has stuck with you through everything that you've done?
It's the simple things. It's always about being the best that you could possibly be, understanding that you have an opportunity to push and get things done. And the part that sticks with me the most is that his whole deal and the way he approached us was almost as I told you so. Like, I'm not shocked that you did that. I'm not shocked that you accomplished that. Why are you shocked? You expected to do it. You planned on doing it. You put in the work to do it. So when it happens, it was supposed to happen. You made it happen. You didn't fall into it. And that's the thing that I remembered moving forward as I got into the league and started doing things. You expect things to happen. You put in the work. When they happen, there's no reason to do a dance. That's what you expected that to happen. You meant for it to happen. You worked for it to happen. So yes, of course it happened.
That's awesome. I love that. And that's so true. Because honestly, I just think of anything that I've been doing too. Like if you think it's going to happen and it happens, I mean, yeah, big pat on the back, but you got to keep going and, prove yourself right. I love that you said that it's not looking at anybody else other than yourself. Right. So
yeah, that's the wrong race to run. You can't run someone else's race.
Exactly. Oh, that's perfect. All right. So now we're looking at the 1990 draft. Walk me through a little bit of the moment that the 49ers selected you in the second round. What were you feeling?
I was sleeping. I was actually asleep. I was in my dorm room. Again, rules are different now. See, everyone now talks about the college pro days and we didn't have pro days back then. So pro scouts would literally come in every single day. And I was a Division II guy that people didn't know about. I went to a little tiny school in northern Alabama, so people didn't know about it until I went to the combine. So when I went to the combine, I got invited to the combine, and then I performed fairly well. I performed fairly well up there, but not up to my standards. But I did well enough so for guys to want to come and see who I was. So literally every single day, I'm not exaggerating, every single day, 7 days a week, from the following day of the combine up until the day before the draft, there was a NFL scout at my school to work me out. Sometimes I would have 3-4 different teams there, and they all wanted to do, as again, it wasn't like it is now where you will have a set pro day, everyone shows up, you perform for these guys at once. Everyone had their own routine. There was a scout I remember one day in particular, because there was a scout from the Raiders that came, and he to run. He hadn't got his run in, so he wanted me to go jog with him. So I ran 4 miles with him while he was talking. When I finished with him, there was a scout from the San Diego Chargers that wanted to work me out. So when I finished that run, then I had to go on the field and work out with a guy from the Chargers. Then come back, there were 2 guys and that eventually drafted me. There were 2 guys from one named Emmett Thomas, longtime player, Scout Hall of Fame player for the from Washington. He was with Washington then. I think he's with Kansas City now. And then Ray Rhodes, the guy, he was my coach for the 49ers who had eventually drafted me. So they worked me out. But back to your question that you actually asked, I was sleeping because what I did know that day was that no one was going to come and work me out. So that morning, I got some calls. One of the Rooneys called me from Pittsburgh, and I remember thinking, God, it's cold. I don't know if I want to play in Pittsburgh.
I don't blame you.
Ray Rhodes called me and asking about it, and then there was a guy from Houston. At the time, it was the Houston Oilers, and they had the 10th pick of the draft, and he kept calling. I was like, I knew good and well. I'm from Jacksonville. You're not drafting me 10 overall. So I talked to those guys, and literally I shut the blinds, I cut the TV off, I locked my door, and I went to sleep. I knew I could get some rest. And later on, guys on my team were pounding on my door. They were banging on my door, pounding on my door, telling me they had seen on television that I hadn't drafted. So I put my phone back on.
Oh, your thing cut out a little bit. I don't know. Kind of missed the end of that there.
Okay. I don't know.
Think no, you're a little laggy, so I don't know what's going on.
I wonder if it's the. Hold on, I know what's going on. Hold on a second.
Yeah, no worries. The day and age we live in now with Wi-Fi.
I know what it is. It's probably my. It's what it is. It's probably the heat. I think my computer's just getting hot, sitting in the sun. Is that better?
Yes, that's better. I can hear you clearly now, so we're good.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know what you missed on that last story, but like I said, I was after I got those phone calls, I literally shut the blinds, shut the windows, went to sleep, and I was awakened by my teammate banging on the door, saying that they had just seen on television that I had gotten drafted. And I put my phone back on the ringer, and the phone rang, and it was Ray Rhodes telling me to get to San Francisco.
That's such a great story. Did you end up going to San Fran basically right away?
The following day. Again, things are different now. Now you can't go until the semester's up and all that stuff. It was like, now, come now.
Amazing.
So yeah, so I was literally on a plane. I was on a plane a few hours later on my way to San Francisco. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. And so when you first got there, who would you say took you under your wing and took you under their wing and kind of mentored you and showed you the ropes of being a 49er?
I was very fortunate. They all did. Ronnie Lott immediately just grabbed me. Don't know why, but he grabbed me, and just where he goes, I go. It was one of those deals where the people he worked out with, Coach Ben Parks, that all the guys worked out. It was like, this is the routine. This is how we work out. This is what it means to be a Niner. And it was go with him. And then I had guys like Keena Turner. Keena was playing there. Keena, and I got Matt Millen. See, me being the only rookie DB to get drafted, and all those other guys were older than me. I mean, the closest guy I think had been in the league like 5 years, so I was the baby. So I had to go in every morning and meet alone with the coach. And I would get there, before 6, and Keena Turner and Matt Millen, these old vets, they were there, and they taught me so much about the business, about understanding how to be the best player I could be, not getting caught up in what anyone else was doing. How to listen and take in coaching, and how to study, and all of these things. So those were the main 3 guys. I mean, I could go there. I got help from everyone, but the guys that really We're like, Eric, this is how you do it. It was Ronnie, Tina Turner, and Matt Miller. Yeah.
Amazing. And so what was the biggest difference from you transitioning from playing at college and then going into the NFL?
You know what's funny about that is that it wasn't really that different. Most of the time, you hear these stories about the pace of things and the expectations, and yeah, guys were faster. Guys were faster, bigger, and quicker, but the game, it seemed the same. The expectations were the same. The pressure to perform at your best. It was kind of the same things that my coach at my little Division II school, Jacksonville State. It was kind of the same thing that he had taught us, and the expectations that I was talking about earlier. Like, he expected us to be good. He expected us to win. He expected us to be champions. So much so that you started to believe like that's the normal. That's how it's supposed to be. This is why you put in this work, and this should be the result. That was the 49er way. So I got there, and I was asked this as a rookie, like what it's like coming from a Division II school, coming to the world champs, because I got drafted by the world champs. And I would say it, and sometimes the reporters would even laugh. And I was like, guys, it's not that different.
Yeah.
It's not that different. And a major part of it not being that different is because those guys took me in, and no one had this air about them like they were special. Yeah, you had Joe and Jerry and Ronnie and Roger, and you had these superstars in the league, but they were just goofy football players, silly, doing what football players do. No one walked around like they were special. There was nothing going on. The only thing that was different was, Bill Walsh's parking space said the genius, but other than that, it was all normal,
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome to hear. So what was it like to play with both, to meet somebody like Joe Montana and then to play with Steve Young? Like, just looking at the two of them, what was your relationship like with them?
I was closer and would say I am closer with Steve because I played more time with him and I was at a different phase of my career. Joe, of course, he was Joe. You always believed that you could win. I was amazed by that ability that he had to make us all feel like everything was fine. We never thought we were going to lose.
Yeah.
Ever. It didn't matter what was going on. I remember games that we'd be behind 2-3 touchdowns and something would happen one play and Joe would come to the sideline and he'd look me in the eye like, we got him now. And I'm like, okay, we got him. We're going to win.
Yeah.
And we would end up winning. It was just this belief that we all had that you couldn't lose when you had Joe, and we were shocked. Steve, I have so much respect for Steve because Steve had to come in and take over after Joe, and he had to earn the locker room's trust. He had to earn our respect and love, me included, everyone. And it had nothing to do with anything other than he wasn't Joe. Mm-hmm. He was a hell of a football player, but he wasn't Joe.
Yeah.
And he had to show us what it was all about and what was going on. And if I had one game to play left, Steve's my quarterback.
Really? Interesting. I was going to ask you literally the next question. Which one would you have chosen?
Steve, if I spent more time with Steve. I grew up with Steve. I learned to play and be a Niner and play the game at the level you're supposed to play when you're in those colors. Mm-hmm. And I watched him do the same thing and earn everyone's in that locker room respect. I saw him. I saw him never, ever disparage anyone or anything that was going on. He just worked. He worked and appreciated the position that he was in. He understood the pressure of the position that he was in. He understood what it meant to wear those colors, and I feel like we related a lot in that way, where it was like there was this obligation to deliver a championship, mm-hmm. and I know how much that means to him, and that's why it means so much to me that I was able to come through for him, because I know it meant a lot for him to come through for me. That's my guy.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Okay, so now kind of moving on into the game that you guys, I think that you were the most pivotal in, and I know a lot of people agree with me in this one, where you intersected Troy Aikman, and you guys won the NFC Championship, and that was a 44-yard pick that you had. Can you just like walk me through that? Like, what were you feeling in that moment and afterwards?
It's another one of those prep things. I knew it was going to happen. Tim McDonald, no, seriously, Tim McDonald and I literally sat down. I mean, we were film junkies, and we literally sat down every day, and he and I would be in, again, before 6, and we'd be in watching film and going through things. And we literally watched every single offensive snap of that season. Because remember, we had just lost to these guys 2 years in a row, and we weren't gonna lose again because there was something we weren't prepared for.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't gonna lose again, and we literally watched every single, and I'm not exaggerating, every single offensive snap that they had that year. We watched, and there was something that after we had gone through things and revisited things, that we noticed that there was something that happened. A certain play that they would run. And then I noticed that it only happened in a certain time, a certain down and distance, in a certain situation. And so a lot of things had to fall into place. But we were playing that game, and after the opening kickoff, so they get the kickoff, we kick off to them. That was one of the things that had to happen. They had to get the opening kickoff. The next thing, it had to be on the third down, but the first third down. And it was the first third down of the game. And then the down and distance had to be a certain area. It was in a certain area down and distance. The ball had to be in a certain position on the field. All of those things happen. Now do they have the right personnel? That's what's in the huddle. And do they get in a certain formation? All these things started to fall into place to where now all of this happens. That's one of those recall things. So everything I'm telling you, that happens. That's something you see in 5-6 seconds that you notice, like, this is happening. This is the situation. And I look at Tim when we're coming out of huddle, and I'm like, Tim, and he looks at me at the exact same time. And I said, here it comes. So now the trick is to be in the right defense to be able to play the way we want to. And then the other most important part is fooling Troy. So you got to get Troy to not realize that you know what he's about to do. Mm-hmm. Because if he knows what you're about to do, he's going to change the play and do something else. So all of those things worked out. We were able to fool him. I knew I had to all I had to do was turn my back a split second and make him think that I was running down the field with Irv and come back and steal it. And that's what happened. So it all worked out. So that's the thought that went into those 3 seconds. It was one of those things like, here it is, it. So now it's don't blow it. And that was a part of being on that team and being in with those guys in that situation. We knew that when our time came, you have to show up, you have to make the play. You can't almost do it. You owed it to those guys to take that chance, be right, get it done. And, I did my part. And I think that sort of fueled everybody else to do theirs.
Mm-hmm. And then, so when you guys won that Super Bowl that year, what were your feelings? How did you feel after everything that you guys have been through as a team together?
Relief. No, seriously. If I were to go back and do that moment again, I would probably enjoy it a lot more. Mm-hmm. I would probably, laugh and do the snow angels and the confetti and all of those type things. And it was relief. I had been there and been close so many times, and I felt like winning that championship is something I was supposed to do. It was something I was supposed to bring to the city and to the Bay. And I come short so many times. And Merton Hanks and I were having that conversation earlier in the season. Like, it was time. We are original Niners. We grew up in those colors. We learned to play football, in those colors. We knew what it meant to be a Niner, and we knew that we had to deliver a championship, or we were just guys. Mm-hmm. And that was something that was one of the expressions that we used to always say around the team, around the locker room, like, don't be the guy. And by don't be the guy, we meant don't be the guy to screw it up for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Well, this is the thing that we understood. You win as a team. But you always hear that expression, and I'm sure you've heard it. You win as a team, you lose as a team. That's not true. That's true. You win as a team. If you lose, it's someone's fault. Because if everyone did their job, you wouldn't lose.
Yeah.
So don't be the guy that screws it up for everyone. If everyone does what they're supposed to do, we're going to win. And it was time for everyone to do what they were supposed to do and win a championship. Not come close, not be a good team, but to be special and to do it at that level. So it was relief to say, okay, now that's over with. Seriously, I was in the locker room by myself. As soon as the game was over, I literally walked right off the field and into the locker room. Everyone has seen those clips, I'm sure, of Steve Young and Jerry getting the trophy in the locker room, and they're in their uniforms, and Steve screams, and Eddie DeBartolo's. That when that was going on, I was already showered, fully dressed. Everything. I was in the locker room probably 20, 30 minutes by myself, where I just sat at my locker and I was like, okay, just relief, done. Because that's all I had ever been told, that I was brought there to be a champion, and I had to deliver on that, and I expected to. And I started this off, I expected to get that done. I expected to know that feeling. I expected to be a part of a great team, and do my part to get us there. Not have guys carry me, but to earn it. And I was relieved that I had finally done that. So yeah, it's funny. And that moment, looking back now, I enjoy it more than I enjoyed it then.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say that about those big moments, right? Because you want it so badly, and like if you don't get it, it's horrendous. But if you do get it, you don't really get the chance to enjoy it because you're so, yeah, you're relieved. So then talk a little bit about, like, after you finish in the NFL. First off, let me just ask this real quick. Out of all the teams that you played with, was it the Niners for you that was the team?
Oh, well, that's the team that drafted me.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I can say that I have very fond memories of Carolina. I mean, the average career is 3 years. I played 6 with the Niners. I played 5 with Carolina. So, I had 2 separate careers, really, if you look at it. And the Niners were a team that took a chance on a kid out of a little Division II school that they didn't know anything about, and they hoped that he could become a player. Things worked out okay. The Panthers knew exactly who I was. They knew what type player I was. They had certain expectations of me to deliver and help their guys understand and play at a certain level, and to help them build some type of legacy. And they decided you are one of the guys we would like to establish what it means to wear these colors. So both of those teams I have fond memories of, and their reasoning for wanting me to be a part of their organization means a lot to me. The Niners are always going to come up on top because that's the one that gave me an opportunity to play. So, that's that. I will always I've earned the right to call myself a Panther if I choose to do so. But I will forever be a Niner. I mean, that's where I learn to walk the game.
That's the only thing I wanted to hear. I love that. I'm just going to ask you one more question real quick, just because we're running out of time here. I got to get off in a couple minutes. But just with your looking back on everything that you've done, what are you most proud of? And what would you kind of, love at the end of the day? You want to put a stamp on your life. What are you most proud of?
At the end of the, see, I'm older now and I get it. My family, this situation right now, even with what's happened, the pandemic, and having to spend all this time around my family and see how we like one another and how we take care of one another. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the relationship that my kids have with one another, the friendship that I have with my wife. I'm proud of the fact that I'm able to do some things to help people, that I've grown and gotten beyond me, and I've met people and learned a lot from people that have allowed me to get in a position to help other people. That's what I'm proud of. I love and appreciate the love that I get from from Niners fans, from football fans in general, for the things that I did on the field. I'm very proud of what I was able to accomplish. I know everyone doesn't get an opportunity to do that and to play the game at that level. And in some cases, play the game at the level I played it. I'm proud of those accomplishments. But
I don't know. I just feel like I have a whole lot more to do that will top all of that.
Yeah, and you'll get there. I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
You've done everything you set out to do. So you're incredible. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for coming on my show today, and all the best in everything that you do, and have fun with your family, and we'll chat soon, hopefully.
All right. Take it easy.
Take
Good
care.
talk. All right. Bye.
All right, guys, so that's it from me. Thanks for watching Beyond the Score. I'm Crystal Score. You can catch me here on Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. So this show can also be heard on BarnBurner Radio Network on its 122 platforms. Please check out barnburner.ca for all the news. BarnBurner, watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it.